Okay, everybody. Anyway, so welcome to the Mimic Pro help session. We're gonna be formal now a little bit. Again, you're welcome to interrupt me whenever you have a question. So just as a quick reminder, this is a competition. So it's a competition of all 5 rounds, although I'm only grading 4 of them. So the first round, I consider it kind of a practice round to get you going, to kind of figure out any errors and issues that you may have. But I'll be grading round 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'll talk in a second about how the grading is going to happen. The competition is based on profit. So basically it's first place, second place, and third place are going to get extra credit points based solely on who makes the most money. Kind of like the real world, sadly. If there's a tie, well, frankly, I'll give, if there, it's hard pressed to give a tie, but if there is a tie, everyone will get the top points. So in terms of how I'm grading this, Mimic Pro has created their own grader. So guys, there are literally thousands and thousands of digital marketing students that are doing the simulation. This really is the only simulation of its kind. And so really most of us, I would say a majority of us probably that teach digital marketing are now using Mimic Pro. So this has become a really common tool. Mimic Pro obviously is in a unique position. Unlike me, they have this gestalt kind of overview forest for the trees perspective in terms of what's good, average, and bad. And so I'm going to defer to kind of the points that they're allocating in this tool for that. So let me explain how it works. Every round is worth 40 points, and that's a total of 160 points. And so there are 5 points of evaluation. Can you all see that? Okay. And basically, and again, so it's 40 points. So you get a point for revenue. You get points for profits, points for conversions. And again, how many purchases, points for reach. So how many people can see essentially your ads, as well as how you rank. So you are, to a certain extent, graded based on your performance with your peers. The positive thing, and this is only, again, it's 20%, but the positive thing I want to point out to you guys is that the lowest grade that you can get, although I know that most of you are A students probably that are here, or at least well above average, but the lowest grade that you can get is going to be a C-. So that's the worst case scenario, although hopefully we won't get there. So hopefully it's not too scary. Again, it is 16% of your grade, but you can kind of see where the points can lie. And again, guys, I'm here to help you. If a round is bad, don't fret. Again, we have extra credit for certifications that are due and some other things. And I'm happy to look at your account and kind of go over and help you. So please don't be afraid to reach out, especially kind of in our new online format. Okay. So to figure out how you guys do, there is a scoreboard that you can go up and look. It is anonymous except for you. So basically you kind of see your placement. I will be sharing each week the top 5, so you can kind of get a feel for who you're competing with, just to make it a little bit more fun. But I'm not going to share names really outside of the top 5. So you can click on rank to see how you're doing and how you're doing at each of these components in an overview. But again, the one that I'm looking at is profits for the competition. So round 1 is done. And some of you, let me just tell you some common mistakes that students made, and then I'll walk you through expectations of round 2 and some tools that can help you out. So one of the things that came up, and I warned kind of against it because it always happens every semester, and I think part of it, and I mentioned this earlier, is the video that they show, is that a lot of students only sell 1 camera, and they really need to be selling 3. So that's a really common mistake. So if you only sold 1, it's not the end of the world. You can actually add on to your practice round in round 2 if you want to, plus do the additional things in round 2 that they want. So don't worry, every round builds on itself. Really, the big part about doing this project, and this is true in real life too, is with search engine optimization, it's all about looking, analyzing this feedback loop and kind of correcting and changing your path based on your results. And so that's really what you need to be doing in each round. Round 1 and 2 in particular are the most work. Round 3 is a little bit lighter. Round 4 and 5, they were not going to take you that long, because really it's about looking at your performance and tweaking it for the most part, and a little bit of extra email stuff. So if you are thinking, goodness, round 1 took me forever, round 2 is taking me forever, and I have all this other stuff to do, I promise you the other rounds are going to be quicker. But again, basically the focus is looking at your performance and correcting it. Anyway, so that's a common mistake that people make. Another common mistake in round 1 is not using good keywords, and also not choosing enough keywords is a common one as well. Another issue is not doing a good job writing your ad. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So I would say those are probably the most common issues that come up. And I'll talk a little bit more about common mistakes as I go through expectations for round 2 and also the insights tool. So one of the biggest things you need to do for round 2, and again, round 2 is due next Tuesday by midnight, is you have to select cameras to sell. Round 1, they selected them for you. Round 2, it's all about you. So to select cameras, guys, this is important. Pay attention to the margin. The margin is how much money you're making, but that's not the whole story. Because remember, the more expensive it is, odds are people, you're going to get some people buying it, but not the frequency of cheaper cameras. So you need to look at the price, the margin, but also, again, look at traffic. Go to those keywords and pay attention to traffic. Traffic is kind of an indirect measure of demand. So if there's no traffic for the cameras, it's probably not going to sell. So use those things, price, margin, and traffic, when you're picking out which cameras you want to sell. So you also, in this case, and what was kind of difficult about round 1 is that you couldn't actually see the pages, but now you have to actually create landing pages. So you're going to have to create 3 landing pages. So you're going to go and you're going to click, and you have to, again, but it means that you have to know which cameras you're going to sell first, and make sure that you find the appropriate landing page for the camera that you want to sell. The other thing that you need to be mindful of, and this is what they're looking for, is on-site SEO. Now, I believe they also have a link to an article. So whenever they do that, so if you recall, in the simulation, they have paragraphs. So even if I wasn't giving you a tutorial, in theory, you should be able to go through it and read it and understand what's going on. In theory, right? So they do have articles there. They have one for building a landing page. Make sure you read that. Again, they're creating their own, they're basing their algorithm on what they believe Google's is and so forth, but they're still doing some of their unique tweaks to it, which is true for any search engine. So make sure that you read the article and emulate and kind of follow their advice to the letter. But anyway, so a really important part of landing pages is, of course, on-site SEO, which we've talked about. So it's making sure that you're putting your keywords, and they've already done kind of the title pages, in the description, that you're finding the same keywords that are here in the landing page. H1, so the header, make sure you have a call to action, don't keyword stuff, and so forth. So everything we talked about on site, make sure you apply that to the landing pages that you're creating for Mimic Pro. Now, when you're designing, so you have to click on the landing page, and you're going to see this in round 2. Then you have to pick which page you want. So also take that into consideration, because some of them are buy product now, feature specifications, product research. So make sure that you are selecting the page that's appropriate to your goals, to your keywords. So remember, some keywords are further up the buyer's journey and some are all about buying the product now. So you need to be aware of that. Okay, so let me spend some time talking about this tool. So this is what you see when you're creating, and you guys can interrupt me if you have questions at any time, ad campaigns. So you have to create a new campaign. So part of Mimic Pro is understanding the structure of ads. So you have individual ads that you are linking up to a landing page selling a camera, okay? Now, you're going to have different ad groups. So you could have one ad in an ad group, two ads in an ad group if you wanted to, although most of you can just have one in an ad group and that's fine. But ad groups are also encased in a campaign, okay? So it's campaign is the big umbrella, ad group, ad. So in round 2, you're asked to create a new campaign. So the first campaign is going to be your practice campaign, and you can see that. And then you're going to make another campaign. You can call it whatever you want. And this is important, guys, so make sure you pay attention. You have a set budget. And so in some cases, you may have a campaign with 3 ad groups and 3 ads that's doing really, really well, and maybe your practice campaign isn't. So you may want to reallocate your budget. So you're going to do that here. So you would click on these little pens here to do that. So again, you're maxing out the amount. So let's say, again, this is going to come later on. I wouldn't necessarily play with this in round 2, but you may want to play with it in round 3, 4, or 5. So if you have kind of an overall campaign that's not doing good, you may want to budget less money than another campaign. Now, in some cases, and again, I wouldn't recommend doing this. I really think everybody needs to keep both campaigns active. But later in the simulation, you may decide to pause something if you want to. So whenever you see the active, the active button, you can actually click on this to pause it, but I don't do this for round 2. You guys following me so far? Give me a thumbs up. No? Okay. If you have a question, just let me know. Anyway, other things that you can see. So this is telling you, I know the font is little here, but you can actually see how many impressions you have, how many clicks, and this is clicks for the overall campaign. We're going to talk about position in a moment, the average cost per click, the cost, the click-through rate, how many conversions the campaign gave you, the conversion rate, profits, the CPA, so cost per acquisition, and the return on advertising spend. Okay. So anyway, this was just to remind me to make sure I was telling you this. You can pause campaigns, and importantly, and you may want to do this for round 2, guys, you can also pause keywords that aren't working for you, and so forth. So just keep that in mind. So my point is, once you pick a keyword, you don't have to keep it forever if it's not working. You can actually pause it. So so within a campaign, as I mentioned, we have ad groups. And ad groups, again, normally you're going to name the ad group based on the brand that you're selling. So in this case, this person's selling Canon, GoPro, Nikon, and a misspelled Panasonic, okay? And then within the ad group, you can have 1 or more ads. It's up to you how many you want to have. And each of these ad groups is active, but again, if I wanted to pause it, I would simply click on this and pause it. Okay. So when you go to the ads, you can see ads that you've already created. And again, some students, frankly, just didn't do a good job with their wording. They didn't have call to actions. They also didn't have a value proposition. So you need to make sure that you have something like buy, save, and some sort of unique, this one is better than this one. So buy, and again, keywords in it, as well as keywords in the title. And here is the unique selling proposition, free shipping. Okay. Now, the next tab up here is keywords. And so you're going to have, especially if you're looking at the campaign level, a very long list. This is actually just a screen grab from it. So you need to go in and actually individually see how the keywords are doing within your tool. And so in some cases, you may want to pause if they're not doing well, or delete. Okay. Now, the last tab that I want to talk to you about is really important. So please, please, please use this. This is called the Insight tab. And you didn't have this for the first round because there was no insights, but now you do, and you will for the rest of the simulation. Now, this basically tells you how you've done in each area. So if it has green, it means you're doing a good job. You can read it. Yellow, there's some improvement, and red is you really have to change this. So what's going to happen is when you click Insights, you are going to see the ads that you've done. And they're going to give you kind of an overall score. And a lot of students, I think, stop here, and that's what, so in theory, they look here, oh, I'm doing great. But this is an average. This is the overall, okay? This isn't telling me more specific information that can help me. So you can actually click on these ads, and it's going to give you a lot more detail like this. And this is what you want to see, okay? So with this, can you all see this? Okay. You're going to have a list of all of your keywords, how much you spent, or the suggested bid, and just a quick note about bidding. And I know bidding is very kind of frustrating for you. At least right now, don't underbid. Always overbid, but don't go crazy. I wouldn't go more than 10 or 15% above the suggested bid. So it's going to tell you bid quality, and that's basically just based on your bid. Ad relevance, so that's good. So these are appropriate for what I'm selling in the ad that I created. But then we have page relevance, where this needs a lot of work. So there's a problem with these things not matching to the page, which means that I need to go back to the landing page and see what the issue is. That maybe I'm not integrating the keywords like I should be here. The other thing, guys, I want to point out to you is really look at the performance of the keywords. So some keywords, you know, are going to have a smaller performance, and that is fine. When you're selecting keywords, yes, the ideal is high traffic, low competition, but the truth is it's okay to pick some words with a lot of traffic that have some competition, because you need that traffic, like things like this, to give you these numbers and these clicks. Okay? So it's okay, but you can't, for example, have all, you know, you're going to blow through your budget if you just focus on the high traffic words and high competition. So it's good to have a mix. Now, what I want to point out to you over here, and we've talked about this in class, this is called average position, okay? And this is this, again, when we're looking at the search engine results page, you have a list of ads. Ads that perform at the top do better than ads, you know, than the fifth one down. So this is telling me on average, Where to Buy GoPro is actually fifth. It's not doing too well. So there's zero, you know, but so if I work on page relevance, maybe this will go up. This also is not doing well. So it's fifth. So it's the fifth ad being shown. And sometimes, guys, if your ads are really bad, frankly, and if there's what we really call kind of a bad ad quality score, they're not even going to show. So some of you actually have that going on, where there was just so many issues that Google or whoever the search engine is, they're like, I'm not showing this to somebody. So if that's why, you know, you don't have any kind of data, that's what's going on. So all of the ones that have low kind of bad page relevance, you can see their average position is bad. Whereas the ones with green, I'm number 2 on average, woohoo. And I have much better performance. So again, down here, you can see it, right? This is making sense to everybody? Bad ad, performance, and here I'm doing a lot better. So it's really important that, again, for a lot of students, they don't go beyond this. They look at this and say, oh, it's great. But when you click on it, you realize, hey, there are things that I could do to improve. So again, why there are so many rounds of Mimic Pro is this opportunity to go back and kind of learn, which is really what SEO and this whole process is all about. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. So check out your insights. Okay, so anyway, kind of just to recap. Again, guys, there's not a set number of keywords, but more is merrier. You can always pause them. Don't stop at 2 or 3. To be honest with you, there are some keywords that just do really, really well. So yes, I've had cases where students don't have many, but they've had kind of the magical combination. Also, to be honest with you guys, there are some cameras that, frankly, that do really, really well. And so part of this and part of the success and winning, if you will, is going to kind of dictate if you've chosen the right cameras. So make sure that you spend some quality time doing that. As I mentioned, when you're picking keywords, and again, you're putting keywords with the ads, you want to mix. So you still want high traffic, even if there's high competition, but you also want some of the long tail conversion words as well. Bidding, don't go below the suggested bid, as I mentioned. Make sure you go upwards of 10, maybe 15%. Review the keywords on the page. Remember what we've talked about for on-site SEO. And allocate more money, more budget to ads that are working. And sometimes you need to pause ads that aren't and just redo the ads. So when you write an ad, just some quick, and we're gonna talk about this for next week. And again, we're a little bit late because of everything that's transpired. But when you're writing an ad, again, always make sure that your landing page is correct, that you have the keywords that match in the actual text and so forth. Also make sure, again, that your headings, you have keywords in your headings, that you have unique selling propositions and so forth that we've talked about. And make sure, again, that there is consistency between the keywords in the ads and the landing page. Now, in some of these rounds, guys, email is going to be optional. And a lot of students don't do well on email in the first round, and that's totally okay. Again, I've told you, Stukent talks about this late in the semester. I'm not quite sure why they put this first. But again, I encourage you to do it. It's not going to cost you that much money from your budget. A lot of times, again, remember, it's going to cost you some money for layout and things like that for email. You're going to have to subtract that from your budget from the campaign. So don't forget to do that. So sometimes when you do a budget review, it says you're over budget. That's why. Anyway, so here is a long list. And again, this will be recorded so you can access it. But again, to be honest with you, for Mimic Pro, you can keep it to kind of the simple, most popular call to actions. And that's probably the best course of action. Okay. So anyway, questions that I can help you with. Sorry, I just now noticed the chat box. No. You are not a vet. So the practice campaign, I'm not grading the practice campaign. The only way that it matters is your performance on the first round carries over to the second, but there's not going to be a grade. So again, the grade's out of 40 points is only going to start in round 2. You did. So basically, if your ad ran, you won the bid. And normally that happens. Again, when Google or whoever the search engine is deciding to show your ad, it is based on not just the bid itself, but also the quality of the ad and the ad matching the landing page. So the true winner actually is someone that places first. But if they're charging you, it ran. Other questions that I can help you guys with?
I have one that's unrelated with the brand new website. if no one has any more questions on Mimic Pro.
Quick question. So let's wrap up Mimic Pro, and then I'm happy to answer questions about the brand new website. Yes. So for those of you doing with a partner, provided you signed up by the due date I had weeks and weeks, months ago, what's going to happen is each of you do the first round individually, and then you guys have to decide kind of basically who performed better, and that's going to carry over. And so if you choose, for example, your partners, you're going to see your partner's results, and then you're going to work on that together. Again, you don't have to, you're not going to be together working on it. But you can work on it independently. My only suggestion is try not to work on it at the exact same time, because sometimes there's issues saving it. Other Mimic Pro questions that I can help you with before we move on to other topics? Anybody? No? Okay, so let me just pause the recording. Give me a quick second, and then we can talk